Good morning, people in the south. How you guys doing? My people in the east, how you guys doing? And my friend in the west, I hope you guys are good. And my dudes in the north, I hope you are good as well. And welcome. I haven't been doing this in a while. Haven't been doing this in a while. All the videos that we've recorded have all been loaded, and we have to do the recordings again. And we've started with the work. We've started with the recordings over and over again. So I haven't been doing this in a while, but all my videos are updated. Remember, we upload once a week on our YouTube channel. So on this channel, because we don't load these videos anywhere else. So we'll be back again, back at work, and we are soldiering on once more. So I've been thinking about I always tie up my experience with how we were brought up. I always tie up my experience with our growing up days, the days when we were still toddlers, and I remember when we grew up in situations where fear was the only thing created, between, or fear was the only thing which was instilled into our brains, created by our parents to create or to distance the kids from the parents. Fear was the only thing that they used, was the tool that they used to create the distance between us as the kids and them as the parents. So they will instill fear in you, so that you start to fear them, you start to fear many other things, around you. And guys, it's winter down here in the south, and we are in the southern hemisphere. I'm based in South Africa, so it's winter, and almost everyone that I know are going through some kind of an influenza, some kind of an influenza strike. So our voices are not coming out well. Our lungs are full of mucus. We cough all the time. The body is trying to adjust itself into this environment. It's very cold. It's just the beginning of winter. We haven't even scratched the surface, in terms of getting into winter. But it's tough. Yeah, it's tough. So that's what I've realized. So don't be surprised if my voice comes out in different formats, because I'm also not immune to the... Is influenza a virus or a bacteria? Flu is a virus, eh? Yeah. So I'm not immune to the virus myself. So when the voice comes out somehow weird, it means also picked up a bit here and there. And yeah, so that's what I've realized between or during our growing up times, that there was gaps that were created between the parents and the child, basically to create some kind of respect between the two. And this has sparked some kind of authority, from the parents to the child. And as such, we are not so much knowledgeable with important things of business, or we were not so much knowledgeable with important things to do with business, to do with life itself. Many of us, especially those that have grown up during my time in the 90s, and they will attest to this, that we got to learn things much later in our lives. at the later stage. We got to understand life at the much later stage. And as opposed to the kids that are growing up in this era, things are much different, you know. Kids growing up in this era around the age of 10, they are already clued up with everything that is happening around the world. So we had a situation where our parents could instill fear in us for us to respect them, for them to create a barrier or a distance between them and us, and not realizing, for the parents not realizing that the authority that they are trying to create over us is going to leave us less knowledgeable with what is happening in the world. Yeah, I think I've put it correctly. So the kids today are more knowledgeable than the kids about, say, between 30 to 40, between 30 and 50 years ago. So the kids growing up today are much more knowledgeable than the kids who grew up between 30 and 50 years ago. So there's a huge difference, because the kids who are growing up today are much more closer to their parents. So the parents are not necessarily trying to create the barrier or the gap by instilling fear in them, because the parents today are the kids who grew up between 30 and 50 years ago, and they understood and understand how it feels now to live in an economy where you do not understand what's going on. So they want to make it a point that the kids that they are bringing up are going to be clued up with what is happening in the world, unlike how they used to be brought up by their parents. Yeah, I think it makes sense now. So in today's episode, I would like to talk about a holding company. You know, I would like to talk about a holding company looking into this exact scenario, and someone might look into this scenario literally to say the parents to the kids would be the holding company to the subsidiaries and so on, as the parents are holding some kind of an authority over the children. But the example that I've given when I started about the parents creating a gap and instilling fear in us had nothing to do with my topic for the day. I just wanted us to grasp why I would not clued up with many other things that are happening around us in our economy, as opposed to the kids who grew up, or the kids who are growing up today in today's era, because our parents were distancing themselves from us. As such, we were not knowledgeable enough to be able to know what is happening around us, because knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. If you know something, you will always be powerful in something. Hence the name of our channel, Know Something, because we know once you know something, you will always be knowledgeable and powerful in something, you know. So holding companies, many of us as entrepreneurs, I want to bring this in a perspective, as I go through the entire thing, I want to bring this in a perspective of disruptive innovation as well, so that we understand how we can incorporate our businesses, our disruptive innovation businesses, into this information that I'm going to share today. So, excuse me. Holding companies are companies that are holding subsidiaries. So someone somewhere is going to be watching this 10 years from now, and they would still be not aware what a holding company is, what a subsidiary is. So let me explain. Companies that are operating in our economy have got something called I almost used the wrong example. Something called, because I want to explain this in a layman's form, such that anyone, whether you live under a rock somewhere, you will understand what I'm trying to explain. Holding companies have got something called corporate governance. Corporate governance is more like, okay, let's take the word governance. Governance, it's a word that is driven from government. Government. Something that governs is something that controls, right? So the moment you see the word governance or government, it means some kind of an authority over something that controls, something that has some kind of an authority over something. So in terms of businesses and holding companies, corporate governance dictates for companies to be able to govern and hold other companies. Holding other companies in a way that those companies that are being held by a specific company will be called child companies. So it's a parent and a child. Do you understand? So a child company is known as, or is referred to as, a subsidiary. And a parent company is known as, or is referred to as, a holding company. So every time you see a company named whatever holdings, let me give you an example with my initials. Let's say the name of the company is AJ. So every time you see a company named AJ Holdings, it means this AJ company is holding some subsidiaries or a certain specific subsidiary. So this AJ company is holding a child. It's AJ company is a parent to a specific child. Sometimes when you explain these things, you think people know and understand and it will be easier for them to grasp. Only to realize later when you get some feedback from other people that, hey, the day, I remember I watched a short video of you explaining, because someone saw my short video of me explaining holding companies and subsidiaries on TikTok, and the video was around 3 minutes, 2 minutes 30 seconds, and they were like, but you didn't do justice for us because we want to know more and understand, but you just went and you were done. So if we don't understand, it's more like you'll be talking alone because we don't know what you're talking about. So the way we were brought up was in such a way that we were distanced from the people that we were supposed to be learning from. And these people that we were supposed to be learning from are our parents. And they distance us in the name of authority, only to realize that they are pushing us away from learning, and we became less knowledgeable, and we did not know many other things that we were supposed to know. As such, we are today not knowledgeable about certain things, and it affects our economics. So now you understand. A parent is a holding company. A child is a subsidiary. That's how it works. So you have a parent and you have a child. That is the meaning of holding company. So how does it happen? How do you start and hold subsidiaries? So there's two ways to hold subsidiaries. You can build your mother or your umbrella or your parent company. So mother, umbrella, parent, same. It's a company that holds. So umbrella is like this, then there's children under the umbrella. Mother is the one that gives birth to the child. Holding is the one that holds. It's the same thing. So how does the holding happen? It happens in two ways. Number one, you can build your disruptive innovation business. Build your, maybe you have an idea, you build your solution, whatever you build, you commercialize, then it starts working. People start to use your solution in the market. Now, once people start using your solution in the market, you start to realize some revenue. The revenue that you are realizing come back and build or get invested into that very same company. Now, the disruptive innovation idea that you build and commercialize, at some point you're going to have to register that as a business. Then the business will be registered. Now it's a registered business. Now it's running and all. Good. You go and you build another one. You build another idea. You conceptualize, you build, you commercialize, then people start using it, and you're gonna have to register that company again the same way. Now you have two companies that are registered and they are running independently. This side, on this company, maybe you are dealing with textile material, you are making this material or textile sheets and stuff like that, so you are selling textile products. This side, you are dealing with electronics, cameras, you're building cameras, and all these things that you see, these gadgets, these electronic gadgets and everything. So it's two different entities. Now, because we were brought up by people who created a distance between us as their kids and them, we don't know this information. And even themselves, sometimes they don't know this information because they were also brought up the same way by their parents. There was even a bigger gap between them and their parents. So eventually, this entire thing will end up not being disrupted. So the generation that comes after the other will create a gap between them and their kids, and so on and so forth, until now, when we realize we were deprived some space and opportunity to learn things that were supposed to be helping us today. That's why we're showing and teaching our kids today how things are done and how things are in terms of economics. It's very important. Actually, every household is supposed to have its own master of economics. We know that in this household, there's a master of economics who's running this household. So we assume that the mothers in households are the masters of economics, not realizing that they don't even understand what economics is. So they're doing things without understanding what they're doing. It's called organic intellectualism, but they don't know what they're doing, but they're doing it, So now you have two entities, ideas that you commercialize, they're working, people are using your products. They are separately registered independently. Everything is good. Now you go and register a company. I want to put it in a layman's that you understand that. I'll explain. Now you go and register a company that is going to look after these two companies, right? You go and register a mother company, and then you call it AJ Holdings. And then after registering AJ Holdings will have its own tax number, its own VAT number, and so on. But AJ Holdings is not going to sell a specific product. It's just going to look after these two children. So this first child, it's registered, it's paying its own taxes and everything, will be linked to AJ Holdings as a subsidiary, as a child. This second one, same thing, will be linked to AJ Holdings, paying its own tax number and everything. Now you have a mother company, and then with two subsidiaries. Or you have a mother that has two children. That is the meaning of holding companies. That's how you can do it. Or you can first register your first company, which is mostly the case. We mostly register our first company, then you come up with your idea, commercialized, gets commercialized, come up with a second idea, it gets commercialized, then you register them, then you link them to the company that you first registered as a mother company. Doesn't matter either way. So that's how you can master this entire corporate governance thing. With regard to because corporate governance is very broad. So today I'm only focusing on the holding company. The holding company wing of it is the part that many of us need to understand. And then the second option to do or to hold companies is that you register a company that doesn't have any product. It's your company, there's tax number, it has VAT number and all of that, but it doesn't have a product. And then you go and buy other companies that are already running and successfully selling their products. You buy them and register them under, or you put them under your holding company, and then these companies become children of your holding company. So you didn't come up with any idea, you didn't commercialize anything, you just went, pop money from your pocket and paid for a specific small company or large, doesn't matter, and then it becomes a subsidiary of your company. You are holding that company. But according to corporate government laws, a holding company should at least hold a minimum of 51% share into the child. So the child will come as 100% whatever. As it becomes a child to this mother, the mother will take 51% minimum of the child's shareholding. So the mother is going to be a shareholder by 51% minimum into the child, and the child will be left with 49%. That's just minimum. That's the law of corporate governance. So minimum 51%, then the child becomes a subsidiary of a holding company. That's how it works. I think I'm explaining it to the lowest level possible for anyone to understand. So those are the two ways you can acquire child or children companies or subsidiaries as a holding company. You can go acquire as many companies. I don't know if there's a limit. I don't know if there's a limit or anything like that on how many children you can have, but much as I know, or as far as I know, you can have as many children as possible. You can have, I've seen companies that have more than 20 children, more than 20 subsidiaries, more than 15 subsidiaries. And when you buy these subsidiaries, you buy with the entire management, employees and everything. You buy the entire system, and then you just come and plug it here as a child. You don't employ no managers, you just buy and become 51% shareholder, you plug it there, and then it continue running as normal. Same, you might change the corporate identity here and there. I see some companies do change. Corporate identity is the CI that normally people talk about. They normally use the acronym CI. So if maybe my corporate identity is, let's talk about colors. Maybe my corporate identity is yellow and red colors. Then I acquire a company that is using white colors. Then once I become 51% shareholder, then I start to incorporate my own colors into their colors. I'm just saying that you buy everything. You buy the entire nest. Managers, everyone, they go and plug there. You don't need to employ new people. No. You buy everything. You buy the entire system. That's how it works. So subsidiaries, in most cases, they get the IP licenses from the holding companies. What does that mean? In most cases, subsidiaries that are holding certain IPs, like children that are holding certain IPs, the IPs will be owned by the mother. Okay, let me put it in another simplest way, because sometimes when you explain something, you explain it in a way that you understand and you throw other people away. If you have ideas that you've conceptualized and commercialized, and they have IPs, it will be wise for the IPs to be owned by the mother than the subsidiaries. Because if the IPs are being owned by the subsidiaries, you won't be able to license them, or you won't be able to license them as the mother. They will be able, I'm not sure if I'm explaining, the IPs will be licensed by the children to whoever who wants to or needs to license your IPs. Maybe we need to talk about IPs and licensing. At some point, we need to talk about that. Now it's getting deeper. Entrepreneurship is getting deeper now. Those are the things that we were never taught, because our parents were there, we were there, and we were never given an opportunity to spend time with them and learn, We don't know what an IP is. We don't know what licensing of an IP is, So maybe I need to make an episode around that. Mostly I don't forget. I'll come back with an episode around IP licensing. So it will be wise to have your IPs owned by the mother. If all the IPs of your subsidiaries are owned by the mother, then everything is safer. Then the mother will be able to license the IPs to the subsidiaries. The mother can license the IPs to the subsidiaries. When you come look at the traction, you'll be able to see that the mother has been licensing this IP to this child and this child. And if anyone comes from outside and say, can I license? Then you use the same strategy, the same approach that you license the children's, your IPs to the children, to someone from outside. That's how you're going to make money as well. That's how other companies are making money. So you can just make money by licensing your IPs, So this is how important knowledge is. But our parents were there, and we were there, and this gap, it showed us flames. For you to acquire that information and knowledge, even at school, even at any level of education, some of this information you won't easily get, you won't easily find, especially if you're from families that were not so well off. They couldn't take you to Harvard or something. Then you are in trouble in terms of information. You understand? That's the problem that we were sitting on. That's the problem that we are sitting on. We don't have information, we don't have knowledge. So, towards the closing of the episode, I want to talk about I was thinking about something that I wanted to talk about. Oh, board of directors on our emerging businesses, board of directors or advisory board on our emerging businesses. Very important. It's part of corporate governance as well. How important is this? It's very important because it gives the company or the business credibility, Imagine your company has a mother company, you have subsidiaries, but there's no board of directors or there's no advisory board. So the guy who owns the mother company is the CEO, is the director, is everything, is managing everything alone, It's just not structured well. It's just not a well-structured business or company. So for us to be professionally recognized and get the credibility that we deserve, and for our companies to get more investments, you need to know and understand how to build such structures. So the moment you realize that your business is growing and your business is going to start holding other small businesses or holding other subsidiaries, you need to make sure that you have an advisory board or a board of directors, well-structured board of directors that are going to oversee this entire thing. Very important. What are the board, or what are the advisory board, or what is an advisory board? Board of directors is a group of people whom the executive committee or the exco, executive management in this mother company, for example, are reporting to. They have to report somewhere. So they can't report to themselves. They have to report somewhere. Someone from outside, someone independent, someone who's not linked to this, the day-to-day operation of the business, has to take, has to account for everything that is happening in the business, so to speak. Not necessarily that they're accounting, but there has to be someone who's overseeing everything that is happening as a method of control, so to speak. So the executive committee will do all the operations and everything, and they will work with the senior managers, middle managers, and everyone. Thereafter, they need to go and report all the operations and the finances and everything of the businesses to somewhere. And where is that? It's the board, the advisory board, the board of directors. That's why everything should be reported. Then you know you are running a well-structured company. Then you know your company has a good chance of attracting more investments. Then you know your company has a very good chance to be competitive with other companies. You'll be on the same level with the companies that we've already, or the companies that we grew up knowing as one of the, or some of the biggest companies that we had in the world. You'll be here with them. Same structure, same everything. Doesn't matter if you started in the backyard or in the back room of your household somewhere. As long as the structure is there, then you are competitive. So lastly, I wanted to throw in a part where we need to also distinguish the difference between a group of companies and holding companies. So I've already explained holding company. What is a holding company? You already understand. You already know what a holding company and how does it come about. Then a group of companies, it's different companies coming together for a common goal. Then you call yourself so and so group. So you're a group of companies. Maybe it's consultants or consultancy firms coming together, and then they're doing a specific work. It's a group of consultancy firms or companies coming together to do a specific work. So these are group of companies. Mostly they're operating independently, but they have agreements to work as a group. Then you will get whatsoever group. AJ group, wara group. It's group of companies which came together for a specific goal. So that's the difference. Sometimes people misunderstand these things and how they work. And that's where the problem normally comes, for people to understand the difference. So sometimes when anything is not being taught to you and you don't know anything about it, you can't blame yourself, because you don't know these things. So you can't blame yourself. Like I was saying when I started, sometimes we grow up in those family setups and there's a gap between us and our parents, and you can't blame yourself. Maybe your parents also are like mine, they didn't know. So you can't blame yourself. You can only blame yourself when you knew about it and you did nothing about it. You knew about this thing, but you did nothing about it. Then you can blame yourself. So in closing, there's people who are registering their companies on regular basis. People are registering their companies and they're calling them holdings because it sounds nice. It sounds fancy. They call them holdings. AJ Holdings. It sounds nice. But they're not holding anything. So they need to know from today going forward, you gotta hold something. Have something that you're holding. You need to find subsidiaries and hold them, So you got the information today. Go out and find small company that you can afford and buy it and hold it. And start learning how these things work with a small company that you're holding. Some small companies, there's a guy in the streets who's owning a specific company that is registered. You can buy that company and hold it, Give him money and take it and run it and hold it. Doesn't matter what he does, So in closing, we normally share support programs. And today, I just want to tell you that there's support programs every week being loaded on the websites, and I share the websites and everything. But you need to know that when you apply for support, financial or any other kind of support, when they shortlist you to be a beneficiary to receive that specific support, at some point they're going to require you to present your board of directors. So at least start working on your board of directors. 1 or 2 people, 3 or 4 people. Board of directors, in most cases, they don't get paid. They're just there to give you advice. So they come as and when you need the advice. And you present them as your board of directors. You can start working on that. Start working on the board of directors, and then present something structured, something presentable, something credible, something um, prominent. Then you attract a lot of investors. With that being said, don't forget to subscribe. There will be a pop-up here. Just click on the pop-up and subscribe. And I'll see you again next week. Next week.